Hi everyone, it's Norman Kochnick here with my show Eyes on Sports with a Z, or in fact Eyes on Cricket. Cameras just fallen. There we go. So we're here with Eyes on Cricket, or Eyes on Sports, as you know. I'm here today, and I'm here, as the program heading would show you, I'm here to talk about obviously the semi-finals that are about to occur as soon as tomorrow morning, my time at 10:30 a.m. It'll be much later in the night in other parts of the world, such as England, and also be a morning session there in, or in the West Indies, it'll be night. So the Caribbean, that is. So effectively, we've got two games coming up. The semi-final tomorrow is between South Africa, and yes, the shock of the tournament, of course, is that Afghanistan has joined us as a semi-finalist, amazingly so. I've got a guest already joining us. In fact, it's David Graveney. Let's just add David to the stage. Hello, David.
Norman, how are you?
Very, very well. I was just giving people about a bit of an understanding of what we're up against. We've got an amazing set of semi-finals. Your team, England, who almost didn't make the Super Eights, are now forging ahead into the semi-finals, and the shock of the tournament, of course, being Afghanistan. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, Afghanistan deserves. There have been some interesting antics of people being shot in the leg or throwing bats around, which is quite comical. but if there's anything in the wicket, I think they've got a really good attack. If they get enough runs, I think runs is their problem. And the way the wickets are playing, which they're conducive to the Afghan attack, I think they could go the whole way, which would be unbelievably brilliant for the game.
Oh my God! I mean, the tournament itself, and I was just going to go into that before you just join us. I looked at the overall 20 teams that actually played. You had amazing teams. Who would ever think that Papua New Guinea, the likes of Oman, amazingly, and obviously Nepal, USA, all these teams that have made the top 20. I mean, Namibia, the list goes on. Obviously, Netherlands has been around for a while. Then the traditional teams, such as Pakistan and New Zealand, both not making it. West Indies, effectively not making it. It's quite incredible.
Well, actually, those countries that you reeled off to start with, Norman, that's not a shock to me, actually, because they all participate now in the Under-19 World Cup, which happens every 2 years. Some of them don't get through to the last stages, but they're doing stuff. So Oman is a place where people from England go pre-season training. They've got really great facilities. Nepal have always been very good. They actually won 1 year. The reason why, one of the reasons, only just one of the reasons why the Asian sides are very strong at under-19. They play amongst themselves every single year. They play a competition which is compressed into 10 days, none of these massive days off and things like that, which is a compliment to the players and the coaching. And they've won, and Nepal won one of the years. So, they've had some players for a while, actually. So I wasn't surprised by them. All the other new names, but I think it's brilliant. Whether they won or lost or whatever, they really enjoyed the occasion. America winning that first game obviously did a lot. It'd be interesting to see. So I haven't heard anybody in the American team talk with a broad Texan accent yet. So we shall see what happens.
But it was amazing. They had a statue of Virat Kohli in, I think it was Times Square. May have been temporary.
I think to be fair, Norman, I think they have some real major problems with logistics, the wickets. You can't defy nature. You can't just drop in wicket without knowing the surroundings, or I think it takes a long time to produce a drop in wicket, which Australia would be aware of. So they might have to review that. But to just spread the gospel in this sort of format, both you and I have some pretty strong views about the concept of T20 cricket. But I think there's been some big plus points, and actually I'm really delighted for South Africa. Everybody keeps calling them chokers and whatever, but they've won seven in a row now, and I think that's a product of their own domestic T20 tournament.
Exactly.
So yeah, and they've all, to be fair, Norman, they've all dodged a bullet from time to time. South Africa won a couple of games by one run or whatever. England could have been rained off. England have already lost two games in this tournament and still gets to the semi-final, which is quite an extraordinary achievement, really.
Well, England came within a whisker of not making the Super Eights. Let's be honest. Scotland almost got away with it. They almost got through.
Yeah, so I think that they are. Once I think as a opening partnership, they are. I think the most dangerous opening partnership. Dare I say it? Instead of Kohli and Rowett. Salt and Butler are brutal, basically. But playing on a wicket that offers some spin, they're coming out with, without doubt, the best seam bowler in the world in terms of Bumrah. You're not going to smash him too far. So yeah, that'd be an interesting couple of games. I don't think, certainly in this country, Norman, it's captured the imagination of the public because there's lots of other things going on. There's the European Championship in terms of football. So yes, and the times that they're showing some of the bigger games in the UK is like 1:30 in the morning. Who's going to be watching that? So yeah, I think they've been challenged logistically from time to time, but
Well, it's a difficult wicket. I'm being part of the pun with wicket, but it's difficult to actually cater for the world when you've got the unusual timing of the Caribbean, or for that matter, you're getting a cup of coffee there, are
you? Tea, Norman.
Tea, of course. But the very fact that you have to cater for a world audience, and as we know, India have insisted a certain semi-final that they had to choose, which is Guyana, based on the time slot, so as they could cater for their audience. And I respect that, but it is a bit, hasn't been taken too kindly to by some countries of that favouritism. We'll talk more about some of the teams in a minute, but I was particularly impressed with the attitude of Uganda, and they actually won a match against Papua New Guinea. They were outsiders in Africa and made the tournament in the first place. It's a great story, actually, to be honest with you.
No, they've done one under 19 level Uganda. So, they've, the actual drilling down into people who participate in under 19 level, you'd be surprised at how many countries participate at that level. And that's putting together the building blocks for what happens in the future. So, I think they've done really well.
Oh, yes. And look, I mean, it's great to see the USA made the Super Eights. That was a huge statement, especially having played matches in the USA. That was a great result. My biggest disappointment is the New York, the games at Nassau County there, at a ground that was made for the tournament, had to be knocked down almost immediately after. I found that a bit sad because, to me, the opportunity was there to leave that stadium there and leave it in its format so as teams could continue to play there.
Yeah.
I would have thought that was a moment of intelligence to, keep the venue, because it was just basically a grass field. It wasn't really a place that needed to be changed.
It's an American attitude, Norman. If you go into the NFL, the number of frequency of changing grounds from seeing in huge stadia is just extraordinary, really. It's
for sure.
Yeah, it just seemed actually the guy I worked with actually went there to watch it. Actually, he said that ironically, the dodgy wickets in America actually produce some of the more exciting games, really.
Of course. Much closer, low level.
A different style of game. Sometimes T20 is just, dare I say it, becoming a bit of a slogging contest. Who can slog it farther? And this was actually, right, we've got to get past the new ball because that seems to be knocking over a few people. So the batsmen were challenged quite a lot by those wickets. I'm sure they weren't as good as they wanted them to be, but it was just a different game, really. And we've seen it in Test match cricket as well. When the wicket does something, it actually produces better cricket because
for sure.
every run is vital. So
I'm just saying hello to a few people that have joined us
yeah,
as their Harsh uh, Jethwa. He wants to join the recording maybe another day, not today, Harsh. Rajendra says hello. Pop Patil says hello. We've got the Bull compilation says hi as well. And the question there from Rajendra Patil is his question about who do you think will win tomorrow's semi-final. Well, Rajendra, we'll get into that in more detail. I mean, you probably know as my viewers that I'm not a big fan of South Africa, and they're playing, of course, Afghanistan. I would love to see Afghanistan win. Whether they will or not, we'll wait and see. But it wouldn't surprise me at all, would it, David, that Afghanistan would keep going on this momentum that they've created?
no, I think so. If they can just control their emotions, Norman, I think would be the phrase I'd use. But there's no doubt that if there's something in the wicket, Rashid Khan is now probably bowling as well as he's ever bowled. Because he had a back operation 12 months ago where he was beginning to lose his effectiveness. And he now seems to have got his leg spinner working. His googly's always works. So if he can beat the bat on both sides of the bat, he is a real threat, wicket-taking threat.
It was interesting, though. I mean, their opening partnership was great. To beat Australia, and let's be honest, the benchmark for this tournament, as did most World Cups, is Australia. If you can beat Australia, you can feel like you can conquer everybody effectively, wouldn't you? It would be a fair comment.
Yeah, no. You know, Australia, a really, really strong team. Up until that point, they were just they demolished England easily in the first game of the tournament. Whether it's a surprise or not, I don't know. These sort of competitions are peaking at the right time. So actually, it would appear that as the wickets are used more and more, the people with really potential spin attacks, and I put India in that because they have enough spin to cope. But Afghanistan's spin attack, they've got Noor, Nabi, and Rashid Khan. That's a good spin attack, allied with
it's world
two
class.
opening bowlers who take wickets with a new ball. I think it's a really good attack.
And let's not forget their fielding was exceptional too. They took some great catches. So did Bangladesh in that match as well. It was very high standard all round. It was quite incredible.
I think the fielding's been off the radar really in all sides. You know, we've watched cricket where people have let it go through their legs, drop simple catches. The catching and stopping has been extraordinary by most of the teams actually. The one surprise for me was the failure of New Zealand to make any progress. But I think it might be, you know, the end of a generation, and maybe just one tournament too many for them.
I'd even argue Australia now is in a form of transition. Let's be honest. Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood bowled reasonably well, but they didn't bowl that well as they would like. I think and obviously Warner's last match was also this particular in this series. There's going to be some significant changes in the Australian team, I would argue as well.
I think Norman worldwide. I can see. I don't know when the next limited over to. I got the feeling the World Cup 50 overs is quite a long way away, and there might be another T20 tournament or whatever. But I think this is a watershed for most teams. I think there'll be a number of people who will not necessarily retire completely, but retire from playing for their countries and then get on the franchise bandwagon, which would be, you know, sad really, but I can understand why.
Yeah, we're getting questions through here, and predominantly about questions about the Indian team. There's a question here: will India drop Kohli from the Bull if he scores a single digit tomorrow? No, they're not going to be dropping Kohli in this series. I'd be very much doubting that. Even though he hasn't been batting at his best.
By his standards, he's been pretty unsuccessful.
Yeah, but I can't imagine them dropping him
No.
in a team that hasn't lost.
dropping Kohli is dropping good players is a hard enough decision. Dropping somebody of Kohli's status is very nearly up there with dropping Shane Warne and replacing him with McGill,
Yes.
which half the Australian population still remember. So,
Oh, no doubt. Now, the other question here was last time India were in a semi-final against England, they had no Bumrah, no Jadeja because of injury, and the spin bowling also wasn't before. What is it average score? Okay, so there's questions now. Moving to the second match now, Rajendra, we'll park that for the moment. We'll talk more about England and India in a minute because you'd almost have to argue in its history, those two teams could well have made the final. But
yeah.
now they're playing each other in the semi-final. We're going to miss out on that opportunity at least. And it's giving a bit of an opening to, well, South Africa, certainly, and Afghanistan. It's
Well,
intriguing the way it's going.
yeah, one of those two teams going to the final is, I think, really good for the competition. You know, you've got South Africa who have the label of choking all the time and not winning anything, and then you've got a new kid on the block. So I think it would have been for them to have played England and England and India in the semi-finals, and the major sides prospering would have been a bit of a dull end to the tournament. I think
True.
there is some romance still left in it, so which would be great.
That's true. Very true. But of course, we mustn't forget England won the last series. Last T20 World Cup was England's.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, again, almost didn't qualify for the Super Eights. I would have argued West Indies was a better option in that group, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
They look fantastic, actually. I thought they were a big chance winning the whole thing, actually, at one stage.
Yeah, they played some really good cricket and they looked very unified. So that was a shock when they got knocked out, actually, I must admit.
Oh, yes. And also being at home, the advantages are clear. They were playing as if they had another leg. They were certainly playing above their standard, and the likes of their batting lineup certainly. I mean, they've got some quality batters in there, that's for sure. I think Rutherford did very well among the earlier matches, didn't
he? It showed when England's batting fires, then they are a serious threat. And Phil Salt is the combination of Salt and Butler. Who'd want to volunteer bowling to those two? You'd have neckache by the time you finished.
All right, so
they take the game away very quickly if they stay in.
Oh, they've got some amazing performers in that regard. So, okay, New Zealand were very disappointing. Pakistan were equally as disappointing.
Yeah,
and look, I mean, when they got beaten by the USA and India, especially against India, when Pakistan only had to chase a total barely over 100 that India put up, and they were in control, and then they seemed to just peter away and started to play almost defensively. It smacked of a match that was rigged. I have to be honest with you. I was very suspicious with the way Pakistan played that game. Very disappointed I was. I felt that they looked like they weren't really wanting to win after having a perfect position laid in front of them. It was quite a shock to me, that game.
It was a shock, but it was not unusual for Pakistan. A depressed taxi driver in Bristol told me that they are at war with each other. There's a lot of people within the team don't like Babar as captain. There's another faction in the team like Shaheen as the captain. So they've got civil war in the dressing room. So
I must be honest, the Pakistan women's team is much more settled with Nita Dar as their captain. I know the woman personally. She's a very strong hand and has actually been excellent. I was rather impressed with the way the women's team go. Just quickly, I'm looking at some of the names on the list of obviously, Gabaz is an opener for Afghanistan. Ibrahim Sadran was amazing. He batted really well. Nab, as he mentioned, and Nabi, both themselves. Rashid Khan, what goes without saying. But the one that really impressed me the most, and you could almost talk in terms of a bordering on a jovial sense, who was it again? It was Gubladin Nab. When he, that was hilarious. When Jonathan Trott was saying, slow the match down, and then all of a sudden, Nab pulls the hamstring. That was funny.
Wow. Got shot in the leg, according to Michael Vaughan.
That was hilarious. And then you saw the Bangladeshi batter, I think it may have been, I can't remember which one it was now. He was pulling his leg and pretending to be injured
Yeah.
as well. As a Lytton Dust, it was, in fact. It was, I thought that was, and Australia have gone to town in the media about that moment, David, where Gulbadine actually pretended to have a bad leg. They went to town saying he was a cheat. And then very quickly, the comments below said, well, pot calling the kettle black. Australia should not be talking about cheating.
Yeah,
It was
no,
hilarious,
that's
actually, because
yeah.
we
I
went to
think
town on that
that was
guy.
not a very that was a very unsubtle attempt to deflect away from Josh Hazelwood's comments,
Exactly.
suggesting that they would manipulate the match to keep England out. It's amazing how life comes back to bite you when you make stupid comments, because it
Oh,
was a
yes.
stupid comment.
It was very stupid. Now, as you know, Moses Sheikh, a regular on this program over
Yeah,
the last few years, has jumped. He jumped ship. He was actually with Afghanistan in the previous World Cup, and he was with Bangladesh in this World Cup. And of course, he was sitting there knowing both camps when Afghanistan played Bangladesh. And you might have seen after the match, he went up to Jonathan Trott, who he knows very well, having been with Afghanistan. And they had a good laugh, and Mosen told me later that he was so happy that Afghanistan won and happy that Bangladesh did well as well. And he was torn between the two because he was the statistician for both teams in
yeah.
both World Cups. He's had a great,
Well,
great
I had
life.
well, I didn't have the same feeling, but I coached or went on a touring party with England under 17s. And our coach was a fantastic guy, well, he still is, A.D. Birrell, who is coach at Hampshire, but also coached the Sunrisers in South Africa, and they've won 2 tournaments. And there's a fantastic clip on YouTube of him talking to his players about showing respect to the people who actually help them in the dressing room. You know, and they say it's not good enough just to know the first name. Know the bloke's full name, and just go and say to him, "Thank you very much for all you've done." It was a very emotional piece, and he did say, "If you can't do that, there's the door over there." You know, he wanted the conduct of the team to be absolutely special. But I was with him. I think it was the World Cup in India where Ireland beat England, and he just finished with Kevin O'Brien got 100, and he just finished in coaching Ireland, and was with me in that under 17s. Actually, ironically, Ben Duckett was on that under 17 tour, and he was finding it very difficult to watch England lose to Ireland. He was dressed in his England kit, but you know he just wanted to jump up and down because he knew the Irish players and was delighted for them. You know, the interchanging of coaches does happen quite a lot. But I'm delighted for Mosen, having met him on this program. Just delighted that his contribution has been recognised.
Well, I mean, he's
he's got
almost like hot property now. Mosen Sheikh is. They all want him, and of course,
yeah.
having been able to imagine the insightfulness that he could have provided for Bangladesh about Afghanistan, having been involved with them only in the previous World Cup,
Yeah,
he could have been very insightful, very impressive, actually.
Yeah, very good. So,
all right. So the disappointment was the tournament certainly are, as we said, New Zealand, West Indies. I would argue they certainly look at the goods. I was disappointed with, well, certainly Australia in the end. They didn't come across the line. I'm impressed by both Afghanistan. You'd have to say South Africa and India. India have been well in control. Now England, your honest appraisal of England. What's your thoughts about their team?
well, I think they're a really strong team, Norman. You know, they've got the batting at the top. The slow ball. Rashid is a remarkable performer, very, very consistent. I think that the opposition, if they master Rashid in any game England play, they're halfway to winning the match. Because he is Morgan has always said he was his go-to bowler, and on the surfaces they're playing in this tournament, he is seriously dangerous.
Well,
And they
Joshua
supported,
Archer in particular is
yeah,
impressing me.
yeah, no, he's and credit to the medical staff. Medical staff's come into a lot of flack about, you know, keeping people off the pitch or managing their workloads or whatever. They have done an extraordinary job to get that young man on the pitch because he had a serious injury. So, but I think even they've had to finesse their attack. There was a lot talked about Wood and Archer, this pace threat, but that's not working on these wickets. It's actually the more pace you bowl, the farther you go. So that also complements the efforts of Archer. But I think England. People talk about South Africa choking. I would say about England, sometimes, it doesn't have very often, because you have to look at how many tournaments they've won. Sometimes just are under par, and I do think that I'm not saying it's a lottery, Norman T20, but you can't put your hand on your heart and say an even balanced teams, which is the winner, because the whole game could change in one over.
All right, so the pitches.
But to answer the question about England, I think they're really, and I think that if there's one side that can be India, it will be England.
Yeah, so I'm now looking at the pitches. Now they're proving to be more spin friendly, certainly, and a bowler like Chris Jordan with his change of pace has come to the fore as well. And I thought he impressed me. So it does look like it's going to be very much suited, well, certainly to India, and you would argue certainly with England as well. Their bowling attack can.
It's one semi-final in Guyana. Where is the other semi-final? Because is it Darren Sammy's ground?
The one's in Guyana. The Barbados is where the final is. Let me just confirm the fixtures. I'll just pull that up. Let me have a look. So one's in Tarouba, which Tarouba, of course, I believe that's in Trinidad, is it not?
Don't know.
I think Tarouba is the ground in Trinidad. That is where Afghanistan are playing against South Africa, and the other being Guyana, which is where India are playing England. So they're going to Trinidad, which will then end up being the final will be played in Barbados, of course.
Well, Barbados spin for a start. It's spun from the word go, first game of the tournament. So that would be a spinning wicket. Guyana, and my recollection is they haven't played too many games at Guyana, but it'll obviously have a big Asian support. So India are never short support, doesn't matter where they play. So I don't know who's got the copyright for India one-day shirts, but they must be making a fortune all over the world.
Oh gosh,
because they've all got them. I don't know about the other grounds. Actually, what has been really good is Nokia's come back, the South African pace bowler who'd been injured, and when he came back in the SA20, he got panned all over the place. I think he might have played in the Big Bash, but he's bowled really well. He's in the Archer category of bowling fast enough that you're a real major threat to anybody.
Yeah, look, I'm going to typically say that South Africa are going to stumble. That's what your first thoughts always go with South Africa. When they get to this stage of a tournament, which they've done many times, certainly semi-finals, they tend to lose it there, as they did in the 50 over World Cup only last year. They ballsed up the most important match, having played well all through the tournament. Again, they've played well all through the tournament.
I think a turning point in this one, actually, Norman, is that they managed to beat the Netherlands for the first time in about 4 matches. So I thought the West Indies would win it overall, because I thought they were playing
too.
I thought they were playing such good cricket, and the crowds are obviously quite rightly behind them. So I didn't see that coming, but I think it's incredibly difficult to predict T20 scores. But I just like the makeup of the semi-finals. That at least somebody will be in the final who's not used to it, which I think is great.
That's true. Afghanistan, they've got Jonathan Trott, who I really like the way he's handled the team. He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But Darren Bravo was also there. What a coup for Afghanistan and Darren Bravo in the West Indies on their local ground.
Darren rather than Dwayne Bravo.
Sorry, I mean, my apologies. I meant to say Dwayne. I've got them mixed up. Dwayne Bravo, I should say.
Dwayne Bravo is the all-rounder who bowls slower balls like
it's not Darren. It's Dwayne.
And Darren's the batter, isn't he?
So Dwayne Bravo, who knows the grounds back to front, is still virtually a current player in some of the formats.
Oh no,
In some,
his intelligence will be absolutely spot on, and he also plays his cricket with great enthusiasm. So the Afghan guys would.
well, he's like he's playing in the team. He hangs
Yeah,
around the actual rope and is constantly in their ear between deliveries. He's really manhandled this side in Afghanistan. That is, and the whole way that they're together with Rashid Khan, with the likes of their team, Trot and Bravo. There's a lot to be said positively about them, as it was with Darren Sammy with the West Indies. He was a great motivation for them as well, I thought. He's the
I know,
right coach for the West
but he
Indies.
is. He's again larger than life, always enthusiastic, no matter what the circumstances. So they've surrounded them with some really good people. Sadly, looking at the media outlets, is that for every match that Afghanistan win, the subject of women's cricket in Afghanistan gets louder and louder. So I think that's going to put the ICC in a really difficult position sooner or later.
Well, they're in hiding, aren't they, effectively, the poor girls? They're
Yeah.
basically not seen anywhere. It's been a real frustration. Nilakshi De Silva, who, of course, someone I helped manage, who's on our
Yeah.
program, is doing really well for Sri Lanka. She scored 63 the other day. Obviously, Patu is killing it. In fact, the Sri Lanka women's team have been unstoppable of late. They've been beating everybody.
Well, let's say they're performing better than the men. Let's put it like that. That's not too difficult, really. So, but it does go in cycles. So if you're asking me who is going to win the two semi-finals, I think England will beat India. And in terms of
why are you saying England will beat India?
I just think they have the armament to beat them. I think, and there are very few sides that can do that. But again, you never know. You never know how Bumrah might. Bumrah versus the England openers will obviously be quite a decisive thing. But the danger of the England openers, dare I say it, and it's unusual for me to say this, I think is far greater than the Indian batting openers.
Right.
Because I don't think they're in great form. I know Rohit got some runs in the last thing, but Kohli hasn't. Kohli doesn't look as if he's at the races at the moment.
And Rishabh Pant, I commend Rishabh Pant. He had a horrible accident where his body was banged up very badly, his knees, I think it was his hip.
Oh no, he's come back brilliantly. He's come back
amazingly.
But I don't think he expects to get to the wicket as early as he's getting. He's getting in within the first couple of overs. And he's the guy who needs to be batting after the power play, virtually. So,
the key to India's batting, other than Rohit, is really Hardik Pandya. He's the key. He's the one that's, I think, the one they can lean on more than anyone else.
Well, he's, again, charismatic. And if you looked at his performance, I know that the supporters of the Mumbai Indians didn't like him being made captain. So he kept getting booed every time he turned up to play. So his performances weren't that great. And there's something around whether his bowling. He needs to bowl, and he needs to bowl fast. And when he's fit and bowling fast, he's up there with everybody else. And I think it just takes a bit of pressure off his batting. But again, he's a key player.
Okay. Let's go back to the first game. The first game, which is tomorrow, which is literally only about 12 hours away, 12, 13 hours away from starting, between Afghanistan and South Africa. What's your thoughts?
No, I'm not sitting on the fence, Norman. I'm just slightly concerned about the Afghan batting. You've got to give Rashid some sort of leeway with the runs to get. At the same time, the South African top order batting is a little bit hit and miss because they've played in America, so a lot of them haven't really got any runs. Actually, De Kock's actually played quite well, so he's got some runs. But some of the big names in the middle, like Markram and
Clarkson,
they haven't really fired yet. So
no.
I don't know whether that's going to affect them. What has happened is that their bowling's been pretty good, South Africa. So their seamers have done a good job. But
Well, what would
I
you do if you were captain of either Afghanistan or South Africa, and you won the toss? What would you do?
bat first.
Yeah, I think that's an imperative for Afghanistan, especially their openers, because if those two can get a great start, it could place the match in the
Yeah.
hands
Uh,
in their
uh,
hands.
Play against them. It's a very simple equation, Norman. There will be a limit in your own mind. If you get 180, Afghanistan are going to really struggle. They might even struggle at 160, depending on the thing. So, fresh use of the wicket, and the wickets seem to get slower, difficult to start if you're coming as on ball one, and spin a bit more. So definitely, if you win the toss back.
And in particular with South Africa, and I hate to use the word choke yet again, but South Africa batting second against Afghanistan with a man like Rashid Khan running their team, they could put enormous pressure on them.
If they bat a second, it could be chaos for South Africa. Anything could happen. And also, dare I say it, this has actually been played in the rainy season in the West Indies. So rain might have a part to play. And some of the matches seem to be having bits of rain from time to time.
Certainly have.
Which is affecting the game. So I still think that, and if there is a little bit of rain, then those who are favouring spin bowling, the ball will skid on. So it makes it a little less effective. So it's been an interesting decision. But let's say it's not going to rain, dry wicket, bat first.
Yeah. All right. Now, okay. So a pick a statement. If you're sitting on the fence, I want you to pick between Afghanistan and South Africa.
And my heart says Afghanistan. My head says South Africa.
I knew you were going to say that.
But actually, I think Afghanistan will win.
If ever they're going to win, this is their opportunity. They've got an opportunity to really win.
I think they've got the momentum to win. So yeah, I would go with them.
Okay, all right. And you already have said that you think England will beat India. So you're saying Afghanistan versus England for the tournament itself.
Yeah.
And then okay, who would win that? Who would you really like to see win that?
Well, I can't sit here as an Englishman and say, well, Afghanistan to win, can I? So, I think Afghanistan to get to the final would be such a wonderful achievement, and then England to win the final.
Can you imagine, David, if Afghanistan went all the way and actually won this tournament? How amazing that would be.
Well, I have some recollection of this sort of situation, probably not the same level, but my best friend at school was president of Sri Lankan cricket when they won the World Cup, when they beat Australia. Yeah, when they beat Australia. And the scenes that happened in Sri Lanka were just extraordinary. You know, given they were in the middle of a civil war, and this was fantastic cricket nation, as Afghanistan are as well, with all their issues. It just would be the perfect romantic ending, but I just think England are such a powerful team in all sorts, in depth of batting, spin bowling, quick bowling, attacking opening batsmen. They've got quite a lot of weapons, really.
But Afghanistan have beaten. My God, they've beaten most top sides now.
Oh no, they've beaten England. Yes.
And they've beaten.
I think the T20 format for Afghanistan is without doubt the best format, because I don't think Rashid Khan, as a wonderful bowler that he is, that in the 50-over contest you can actually play his overs. You don't have to attack them. T20 sometimes means you've actually got to attack the best bowlers, so because you haven't got enough time. So I think it's the format for them, because I quite like Noor, the left-handed wrist-handed spinner, because he played in the World Cup two World Cups ago against England. And our guys.
This is a great point. We mustn't forget this. Alpha Beta has just said in the 2023 World Cup, the 50 over, we were lucky that Afghanistan owns Australia, but they almost beat Australia. It was only Glenn Maxwell that came out of the woodwork and scored that double 100. that actually got us through.
And that was either an unfit Rashid Khan or half a fit Rashid Khan. Rashid Khan now is bowling probably the best he's bowled in his career. So
What is it? What is it about Rashid Khan? Because when I watch him bowl, it doesn't look dramatic what he does. He doesn't necessarily tweak the ball that much, but he seems to have his wrong and going all the time.
Yeah, and now with the wickets being as they are, that he either can get his leg spinner to go straight on, because that's what you've got to do. The bat's not 2 foot wide. He is not dissimilar to Shane Warne, Norman. His accuracy is like a finger spinner.
Right.
So you're under pressure from the word go, and sides, I think, not miss a trick, but I think they mentally say, right, we'll just play it. Let's get 5 and over or something from his 4 overs. Whereas actually, I think that they could afford to lose maybe 1 wicket, really assaulting him from the first ball. Try and put him under pressure if you can. Everybody's a human being. The whole world will be expecting him to control the innings and win it for Afghanistan. So what's the best thing? Attack their main threat. And that, to be fair, is eventually under Duncan Fletcher, England did that with Shane Warne. And particularly in the test matches where Glenn McGrath was unfit, they realised the only weapon they had was Warne. And by the time, this is 2005, by the time that it came to the Oval, Shane Warne was absolutely knackered. He bowled so many overs either in a defensive situation or in attacking mode, but he just was bowling all the time. And there is a limit. So I know it seem to be risky, but if you get bowled out in a T20 game, then you're obviously not doing things really. You've got to bat really badly to lose 10 wickets in 20 overs. So sure. I think you've got a bit of room to manoeuvre to really put him under pressure.
Again, going back to the West Indies, they're a team that would not have been intimidated by Rashid Khan. They would, as you said, would have they would have went for it. They would have attacked him quite profusely, especially in Andre Russell in the middle order there.
Yeah, but I think the wicket has to be reasonably flat for the West Indies. I just think some of the expertise that the England have, for instance, Moeen Ali is a key weapon. And I've said to you often on this program, Norman, when I first saw Moeen Ali bat for the first time as a young man, I've never seen the ball hit as hard as that. He hits the ball seriously hard. And if he gets into swing of his bat or whatever, he hits it out the ground with just steady regularity. And because it's a left-hander, the danger ball is leaving the bat, so he can hit it over the offside if he wanted to. So I think he's a big player if they end up playing against each other. We're making a massive assumption that they're playing against each other because that might not happen.
Let's look at the England side for a moment. You've got Salt with go through the batting lineup for me, would you? What you see?
Butler. Who's bats at 3?
Is Bairstow 3?
Bairstow's a bit higher up.
Yeah.
So they've got Bairstow. They've got
Harry Brook's not playing, is he?
Yeah, he has been playing, but he just hasn't got to the crease really because the other two have been bashing it all over the place. Livingston's been playing, but not sure how fit he is. I think, and Sam Curran has come in instead of Mark Wood.
Yeah.
I think the 2 left-handers can cause a bit of chaos. You know
well, Chris Jordan we mentioned earlier on is there, and you've got
and the back end. You've got some seriously it's just a nice balance. A left arm seamer opening the bowling is really good because he can get it to swing the other way to the conventional right arm bowlers. So the mixture they have within the team is, I think, a really, really powerful one.
Yeah, it's going to be. Okay. Well, as I said, we've spoken about Afghanistan and South Africa. You're saying heart Afghanistan, head South Africa. I'm saying heart and head South Africa because, again, sorry, I'm saying head and heart for Afghanistan. I don't want
You
South
know,
Africa to win.
yeah, you
I've
don't
got a
like South
dislike of
Africa.
them.
How can you back them? So, um,
I couldn't
so
handle. It grates me to think that I love this hoodoo they've had. I love the choking. I love all that. I want it to continue because it just adds to the drama. My thoughts are,
well,
and
no,
I
it's
love this.
just what a mental game it is, or any sport really. You have a
Sorry,
reputation. It shows you what a mental game it is,
yeah,
and once you have a reputation like that, it's hard to break away from it. So
absolutely. And Afghanistan have got absolutely nothing to lose.
no,
They have made the semi-finals, which is like a monumental effort to start with. They're going to go with all guns blazing. I did
and
notice that Gobaz
they
was
just
really
need to
injured.
control their emotions, and actually having
Yeah.
somebody like Jonathan Trott there is the perfect guy because he had a reputation as a bit of a blocker when he played. So and he studies the game from a mental position. So yeah, I think there'll be two interesting games. I just hope it doesn't rain. That's the issue for
Well, we're
me.
getting lots of people commenting about the weather. They're particularly concerned about Guyana. Guyana seems to be wet at the moment. As you said, it's the rainy season. With Trinidad, it seems to be a little bit better of the opportunity. And then ultimately playing Barbados, which I'm not sure what the weather is traditionally there, but it's generally pretty temperate, even in the wet season. So,
Yeah, well, it's raining a lot in Florida and in America, so it's heading in
yeah.
that direction. So, um, but whether somebody's asked me whether it's been a success, a lot of people from the UK went there, but trying to get away from our weather and the prospects of watching cricket in Barbados is really a no-brainer, really. So, um, it'll be interesting to see how the powers that be think it's a success. I also am very interested to see what the next 4 or 5 years look like with the development of American franchises, and
Oh,
whether
I mean,
whether
look, they've got huge support from the head of Google, Adobe. There's a whole host of Indian-based CEOs that are now
yeah
wanting to really put financial support behind these American franchises, and a lot of the major players are going there now and signing up. I mean, Pat Cummins recently signed up with one of the teams, and it looks to me as if the main clincher is to build the stadium, which is permanent. That's the big clincher.
yeah. So I yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I just see actually Norm, at the end of this tournament quite a lot of an exodus of players, international players, saying thank you but no thank you. I've done my best. It's a bit like Trent Bolt, which I think the New Zealanders handled it really well. He announced he was going to finish. Everybody was complimentary about him and his career. They weren't criticising him. They said, "Understand it. You've got a young family, and it's just an easier. You can earn 3 times as much, and you aren't away for week after week after week." So you can understand why the players are drifting that sort of way. So, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many players make that decision. I suspect there'll be a lot. I think there'll be a lot of Australians who make that decision to go. But
For
it'll be
sure.
interesting to see what the Indians do because they're obviously attached to franchises to do with the IPL.
Well, Indian players almost inevitably have to stick to their franchises because let's just say in the case of Kohli with Royal Challengers Bangalore, they have also franchised as Mumbai Indians. They're franchised for the whole 12 months now.
Yeah,
Other than playing for their country, they are franchised to play
yeah,
many
and
tournaments.
with a
With
considerable amount of money, I would imagine. So are you we're going to do this again at the end of the semi-finals, Norman, or not?
I would like to do them specifically for all the both. We're not going to be able to do one for Afghanistan, South Africa. This is kind of leading up to
Yeah,
that tomorrow, but definitely the England India match, do a
yeah.
precursor to that, and the final as well. So I'm doing two more with you if you'd like. Have you
No,
got
no, it's
time?
fine. So if you just send me an email, the link,
I will.
then I'll do that. So it'll be
And
a
every
pleasure.
time, David, you come on screen, you look younger, whereas I'm now
No, you're
I've
looking
turned 60.
very well. Well, it's your international travelling, what you're doing. You must have clocked
That's
up some
true. That's true. Too much.
air miles, do me.
Well,
You need to.
I would have been in America and the Caribbean for this World Cup, but I've had a property matter to deal with here, which is coming to an end hopefully in the next week or two, and then I'm free to travel again. But India are coming here for 5 Test matches,
That'd be a
and
brilliant.
that'd be great. I've booked in, and one day, David, when you come to Australia again, you have to, and I'll shout you. You can, not the whole trip though, but in particular Adelaide, because you have to stay at the Adelaide Oval Hotel. It is unbelievable. You
Is it?
stay within the actual ground itself. You have breakfast with the ground in the front of you. It is the most exquisite hotel. I've
Well, I
already
would have
booked
to
my.
say it's, and this is no, sort of derogatory things about all the other great grounds. When I first went there, the England team used to go to Brisbane all the time. That's where my uncle played for Queensland.
Yep.
So I got to know the people there. They, some of the older people remember my uncle playing there, so that was good. Melbourne, Sydney. I never really got there because all the hierarchy of the ECB wanted to go there. But the one place I did get to was Adelaide, and met Rod Marsh for the first time in a social capacity, together with Flipper.
But you should. What I'm saying is, in particular, stay in the stadium.
But what I was going to lead up to, sorry, Norman, was actually coming to the ground, walking over the river, approaching
the bridge.
Just an extraordinary. And my memories of being in Adelaide, I met, being Rod, larger than life person, I managed to meet one of his friends who always was there on the first day of the Test match. On the Saturday of the Test match. And when he was there, and he'd done it for 20 years, and so I met him for the first time. And the Tented Village at Adelaide is way beyond what the nursery ground is in Lords, so it just seems to go on forever and a day. So I said to him, are you going into the ground to watch it? He said, no, I've never watched the cricket. I've been coming for every 20 years, but I just stay in the tents here. I watch it from here. He was a great guy. And that was his ritual, to do that every time. I thought it was brilliant, really. But he had some great friends. The loss of Rod, who was a really, really good guy, a good friend.
It's so sad.
So I want
to go close to Shane Warne too. That whole timing was
Shane Warne, then Rod Marsh, then Andrew Simons. Australian cricket had some body blows beyond belief. But I need to go to Adelaide because I want to go, and it's brilliant that Rod doesn't have a statue, but he has a meeting place, which is just about right for Ross. So, hopefully I might meet his wife again. So definitely, and Adelaide, I thought, was the friendliest city that I've been to.
I would agree with that.
And obviously with Rod's penchant for a glass of red, we had quite a lot of reds when I went there.
Oh God, you got the best wine you can ever get there, and on top of that, the best steaks too. They make some fantastic steak restaurants. Oh, geez.
Yeah, no, it was a very happy place, and hopefully before my time is finished, I'll get there again.
Well, I've booked all 5 days, 5 nights. That is, in fact 6 nights for the India Australia Test match. There, I was there last season for the West Indies when they wasn't as good a match, but this will be a lot of fun. I'm sure. I'm looking forward to that. The next series.
Where's that positioned on the ground?
Sorry,
where's that positioned on the ground?
Okay, it's more towards the church's end, not the river end. On the right-hand side, so they've put a whole lot of new stands on the one side, not the Bradman stand, not far where the Victor Richardson gates used to be, which is still there. And that's if you're sitting in the members stand, not the side member stand, but the main major stand, which is the closest to the river, you're looking to your right.
Where the dressing rooms are.
Yeah.
Because the stands
on the other side, opposite the dressing rooms.
All right, because those stands, 2005, they were sort of a bit Arabic-like. They had, and they, I don't think that lasted very long. They knocked those down and rebuilt the stands again. But
anyway, it's 7-star. The quality of the rooms are fantastic. You walk through, you sit in an area where you have breakfast. You're looking out over the ground, when the games, you can sit there and watch them, prepping. It's amazing. It's just, I
Seems
wish
to
more
be
grounds had it.
actually. I've just come back from Worcester,
Right.
having watched. Well, actually, gone through. It's an old players' reunion, sort of national things like that, and it was a cheap hotel, but it was built overlooking the ground. So you pull the curtains back in the morning, and Worcester is one of the prettiest grounds in the world. It's just a fantastic backdrop.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I mean, was it the Danubius? Is it Danubius
Yeah,
Hotel near Lords? Hasn't got a view of the ground, but you're really close there, which is pretty good.
no, but it had one view that I can remember looking out of the window the afternoon before the first test in 2005. Leading up to it, Shane Warne hadn't been bowling very well.
Yeah.
And so everybody's finished practice. This is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 3 people out on the nursery ground: Shane Warne, Adam Gilchrist, and Terry Jenner,
Right.
practicing. And I thought, here we go. This is our death nail. They've actually because they got Terry Jenner in, flew him in to see if they could just tweak Shane Warne, nothing more. He was ironically a bit low in confidence. That didn't last very long. So,
It's hard. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Him low on confidence.
hard to imagine, but it does happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that series against India, Norman, I'd be very jealous. So it'd be, and the Indian players will still continue to play Test match cricket. The established team. So yeah, it'd be good if they produce wickets that seam around. Bumrah is going to be a handful for them because
Oh, definitely, definitely.
he's a proper bowler. He is.
Okay, so I'll have 2 more
Yeah,
broadcasts. One will be leading into the match between India and England, and then the final. So I'll let you know the times, and they should be suitable to you, I'm sure.
No one, pleasure. Good to see you again.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave. Thanks for coming.
No.
Well,
Now,
we've got.
have you spoken to Chris or the Vernon family?
Yeah, they both were invited today. They couldn't make it. There was middle of their working days, I think. Not in Richard's case, but certainly in Chris's case. They'll come back. Don't worry, we'll get them all on.
All right. Well, I'll speak to you next time round. All right, Norman.
All right, David. Thank you.
See you
All the best.
Bye.
Fantastic to have David Graveney, the former chairman of selectors of England. He's now heavily involved with a lot of different layers of cricket, as you heard, especially women's cricket, young under 17s, under 19s. He's been involved with them all, including the major players, having selected the likes of Vaughan, Flintoff, and obviously Kevin Peterson. The like was his responsibility. So at ASEAN 32cc, Leicestershire against Ollie Robinson. So this was Barama's not here today, unfortunately. He should be. He can join tomorrow. Great. So I'm going to have shows. Well, we're not going to have another show prior to the Afghanistan South Africa match, which is only hours away from starting. And I'll just talk about that in a minute. We'll definitely be on before the India England match, and then ultimately the final in Barbados. I'll arrange hopefully more guests to be on the program leading into that. And see a picture of my mother on my shoulder there, who passed away 2 years ago. So yes, the match. I'll just spend a little bit of time now talking about. ASEAN. It's about a new record here, 43 runs and an over. I haven't seen that. Something that I'd like to find out more about. So let's specifically talk about Afghanistan and South Africa. South Africa, full of great players we know, from Quinton de Kock right through to Klassen, bowlers like Rabada, Nokia, and then you've got the spinners. There is Shamsi. They've got a pretty good team, South Africa. But it's all about them. It's all about up here. So Baram has just sent me something here. I'm not sure. So Leicestershire's Lewis Kimber smashed the record over against Ollie Robinson, 43 runs. I'm going to find out more about that. So Baram, you're okay. So Baram, this is actually Baram here. Arson 32cc is actually Baram. Well, then come on. He'll join tomorrow. But Baram will join on tomorrow. He sent me a message about this Leicestershire player called Lewis Kimber, having smashed a record over against Ollie Robinson of 43 runs. Pretty big deal. Very interesting indeed. So, all right, let's go back to. I'll have to just save that. I'm going to save that. It's just a matter of. Let's see how from. Yeah, I'll just say this. If I ever save that, the picture there of Viv Richards actually too. No, it's not now. I have to work out a way to save that. But yeah, that's I have to get that sorted. Quite a big moment. Okay. All right. So referring to the match, the Afghanistan team. Now let's just go through the team and discuss a bit more about how they fared fantastically against, didn't they? They batted fantastically against, well, not only batted, but they bowled very well against a number of sides, and in particular against Australia. Against Bangladesh, it was a bit wayward, but their bowling and their intensity just floored Bangladesh. So Bangladesh had a big opportunity if they actually won to be, they could, if they beat, I think it was by the 13 point something, 13.1 overs, or if they got the runs that Afghanistan got before then, they would have actually made a final and leapfrogged both Afghanistan and Australia. They didn't, unfortunately, and they lost the match actually, which was quite sad, to be honest. Some pictures of Brendan Lyon. Let me just pull up let's have a little look at the teams. So obviously Afghanistan. Let's look. Harsh Jawaz was there. So let's look at specifically the Afghanistan match against South Africa. Can Afghanistan continue their dream run against an unbeaten South Africa? That's the big question. The likely South African, or at least likely Afghanistan team, and there's quite a look at their players. I mean, you look at Gurbaz, he scored 281 runs so far in the series. Sadran scored 229. Farouk, 16 wickets, and Rashid Khan, 14. They're leading the way big time. And their team, and there's a fitness cloud about Gabaz, the opener. You'll probably saw him on the bench there during the match. Gulbadine, of course, acted like he had a problem, but he did. So the team news. So we've got a probable team: Ibrahim Zadran and Ramanullah Gabaz, or Hasratullah Zazai. If Gabaz is not playing, we're in Afghanistan in big trouble. Why are South Africans good at coaching and managing teams? Well, they can't win in their own times, and then we say we're more there. Why do I prefer eating in mountains? Why do I prefer eating in mountains? I'm not eating in mountains. What are you talking about? Okay, so we've got Omar Zar. There's another pretty good player. Gulbadin Nub. I don't think at four bowls, great medium paces. Mohammed Nabi has been around. He's 39. He's been around since day dot for Afghanistan. Karim Janat or Mohammed Ishaq will have to come in if Gabaz can't keep. Rashid Khan, the captain extraordinaire, significant player, really the player of the tournament, I would argue, especially if they go on and win. And then he had young Noor Ahmad, who bowled very well, very tidily left hand. And then one of the major wicket there was Fasalak Faruqi. He was amazing, I thought. A pretty good damn side. There's a lot to be said about this Afghani side. A lot of potential. I'll go quickly to South Africa, and I'm not that big a fan of South Africa. You know that. I think they're chokers, and I think still maintain that they've got a great chance. They should be going through the final, South Africa. But with Afghanistan having nothing to lose, who knows? South Africa's team will probably have Quinton de Kock with Reza Hendricks as opening. Now, they've been pretty stable, a bit like Gabaz has been with Sadran. They're significant. Adrian Markham, captain as he is. David Miller's the one that really is important to South Africa. Heinrich Klassen also has been a big time player, but he hasn't been playing that well lately. Then young Tristan Stubbs, has also been a gun player. Marco Jansen, great bowler, and not that bad. Maharaj and Shamsi are the two spinners with Rabada and Knockout. They've got a good side, South Africa. They certainly do, but well, are they going to beat? Are they going to beat Afghanistan? We'll have to wait and see. But again, if Gabaz plays and Afghanistan win the toss and bat first and put on a decent score, then anything's possible. Azam Thoshu. Ismail Haq mentioned he feels that India tampered with the ball, giving out Arshdeep was able to reverse swing it. Your views at this time, please, Zuma. Look, it depends on how that ball was tampered. I can't comment about the tampering of the ball, but Inzamam Al Haq said it. Well, it's out there. But then again, Australia was bagging Afghanistan for pulling a hammy, Gilbertine in a slip, in the first slip there, and accidentally go for the field. I mean, I don't think, that the ball tampering. I mean, let's not talk from Australia's perspective. We all know how diabolical they've been with David Warner, who's now retired. Of course, you may not be aware that Warner's last T20 match was against India, and he's gone. He didn't have a farewell because they almost made the semi-finals, depending on how Afghanistan went, and they didn't have a chance to celebrate Dave Warner's last T20 match, which is unfortunate, I guess. Yeah, he lost his place. So why have you got Baram? Why have you got a thing called Arson 32, 37? Not sure. Okay. So again, Afghanistan, and I think this is a great statement. Can Afghanistan continue their dream running as unbeaten South Africa? That's the question we need to ask. Yeah. India, England. David Graven, you just heard him a minute ago. He made it pretty clear that he thought England would beat India in this World Cup semi-final in Guyana, the place that India were predetermined to play if they made the semi-final, which was not really the way it should be done. India beating England in the semi-final in the Caribbean. Hard one to say. India certainly has played well enough. Pratik Sahu, hats off to you by dedication, Norman. Thank you, Pratik. Harsh Jethwa says Labuschagne should be picked in the T20 for seamers. I don't rate Labuschagne for the T20 format, to be honest with you, at all. That's one of the comments I wouldn't agree with that. So ultimately, yeah, I'm picking Afghanistan. As David said, his heart says Afghanistan, his head says South Africa. I go heart and head Afghanistan. I want Afghanistan to win now and go through the final. And who they play won't be important, but they make the finals. India and England, at this early stage, I would still favour India. I can't necessarily think England. England, don't forget, were lucky to get through the first group stage into the Super Eights. They almost didn't make it. Scotland almost outdid them. So they're lucky to have been in the Super Eights, but they've played very well in the Super Eights and have now hence been brought to the semi-finals. So I'm pretty sure that I think India will win. And Behram says that Rohit Sharma is on beast mode. He certainly was when he scored that runs against Australia. He absolutely clobbered Australia. Australia were beaten comprehensively. And yeah, I think Australia, well, they're out of the semi-final. They didn't make it. They had a different captain, Mitch Marsh, and didn't have Pat Cummins. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. But ironically, yeah, look, the combination of both, obviously Stark with Hazelwood and Cummins in the bowling line, I think the days are numbered. I think Stark's, yeah, at least his test career will continue for a while on, but I think he needs to consider giving up the short format. That's my thoughts. I know they went for good money in the IPL, but I'm not convinced that they should be playing for Australia. But Nathan Ellis was there. Josh Inglis should have been the keeper. Matthew Wade, I'm not sure why he was still the keeper. Didn't perform well with the bat at all. And Josh Inglis was a noted opening batsman, and that was the mistake. So with Warner gone now, Warner won't play again. Travis Head played okay, but I'm not rating him. I have Josh Inglis opening the batting for starters. Glenn Maxwell did very well. He scored 50 odd against Afghanistan. They still lost. Tim Davis, admirable. Steve Smith not in the equation. And Mitch Marsh is one of the most questionable situations. Is he up for the captaincy? Nice bloke that he seems to be, but is he the right captain? I think the answer that's still out there is it really good to have it? And I think Harsh just was talking about Marnus Labuschagne. No, he will not play T20 cricket for Australia in that format. He's not going to succeed with other players. No, will be a successor. No, I don't think so. All right. So we've got an hour now, guys. Any other questions? My opinion again is my thoughts are Afghanistan will beat South Africa, especially if Afghanistan bat first, get good runs on the board and put overwhelming pressure on South Africa, then they're in with a chance. If South Africa bat first and score reasonably high total, then that will be difficult for Afghanistan to run down, I think. So it's all about winning the toss. Afghanistan will win the toss. They'll probably win. And it may well be the other way around, South Africa bat first. So that's my thoughts. India, England. I would say India would probably prefer to bat first, as they did against Australia, which worked. I would think that would be the better way to go. England would have to think the same, and it's been proven. So Barams has written two things were very disturbing for me with the Aussie team. One, the horrible feeling, yes, and drop catches, absolutely, pretty ordinary. And two, giving up winning a match against India without 8 over, no intent. Yeah, they were pretty, it's almost as if they've had too much cricket. I would argue it's almost as if they had too much cricket. And Barams' comments there are very relevant. Yeah, the Aussie fielding and catches, they're getting older, let's be honest. And they kind of didn't really. I think they were shot to pieces when Afghanistan beat them. To be honest with you, and then India, they should have beaten India for God's sake. And we think they should have, but they basically didn't have that. They lost two of their Super 8 matches. Only beat Bangladesh, and that was in a rain-affected match as well. So what would happen there? Bangladesh played pretty well, actually. I was pretty impressed with Bangladesh's tournament. They didn't quite get across the line against Afghanistan, and if they did, as we know, and actually played well enough to get it under 13 odd overs, they would have been in the semi-final. Amazing. Aussies playing at a bomb by beating Scotland, and that and England can now qualify. Yeah, Australia had a chance to let Scotland win that and let them get through, and that would have knocked England out. But that wouldn't have helped Australia. That Australia's out because they're beaten twice in the Super 8 stage. But Australia can't win everything. They have been winning everything. They won the World Cup last year when they probably shouldn't have in the ODIs. They won the World Test Championships, which they probably deserved. They won previous T20 champions, so they won most titles, but they didn't get across the line this time. Are they going to blame Mitch Marsh over Cummins? That's not fair. I don't think it's Mitch Marsh's fault that they failed at all. All right, it's now well past midnight, and I'll have to say goodbye to you guys. I've got some things to do with property tomorrow, some documents to sign. So I will see you all. So Bangladesh had been the worst team in the recent 2 decades, did not qualify for a single tournament in any ICC tournament. That's a bit harsh. They went very close to doing it this time, very close. They did pretty well. They're still a top 8 team. So good night from Baram, good night from me. We will see each other again. I'll send out a link, or you'll see the episode will be on prior to the India England match, and then ultimately the final in Barbados. But this is the prelim. Don't go, sir. I kind of have to hush. It's been on for over an hour. But yeah, obviously with the match between Afghanistan and South Africa, I hope local Afghanistan win, and it'll be romantic. South Africa would not be romantic making the final at all. And South Africa won't win. It'll be either India or England. If Afghanistan don't make it, it'll be India or England will make it. Harsh, Jeff, I can't say any longer. It's time to go. So, all right, guys, stay tuned again. I'll be on very shortly. Again, I've got 49,000, almost 500 subscribers. I'm pushing the 50,000 mark for subscribers. I'm very, happy with that. So we'll talk more soon. Okay. Any other questions? Put them in my messages, and view, like, and share the posts. Subscribe, get others to subscribe, pass the message out, and David Graven and the like will be here with us again. So all the best, guys, from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick or Eyes on Sports. Stay tuned. Ciao.